Hi everyone. The purpose of this particular video is to go over with you the structural components of your Chapter 3, your research methodology. And what I'll do is I'll talk us through these various content areas first, and then we'll actually walk through a sample method section that I will also make sure you guys have electronically as a resource as you're writing your Chapter 3. So when you develop a method section, first thing you want to do is include an introductory paragraph where you tell the reader the contents of the chapter. Second, you describe your research site. Third, you discuss your data collection. You state if your study was quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method. You explain your research instrument. Did you do a survey, interview questions, observations? Did you do time running notes? And how did you develop the tool? You describe your sample and where your data were collected, the time frame, and the tools used to collect your data, which you addressed over here when you discussed your instrument development. Your fourth subhead is going to be on level 2 subhead is data analysis. This is where you talk about how you manipulated your data. What did you do to actually analyze your data? Did you put it into an Excel spreadsheet and calculate means and standard deviations? If you did interviews, did you have themes that you looked for in your data? Fifth, you want to make it absolutely explicit that you have IRB approval, and then discuss the ethical considerations and the limitations of your study. So what we're going to do now is we're going to begin moving through the actual narrative. And what I've done here for you is I've gone to Purdue OWL, and I've used it even though it is not the most up-to-date source I could find. And I have modeled how this is your level 1 heading here. This is a level 2 heading here. And when we get down to here, you'll see that we actually have some level 3 headings. So in your Chapter 3, you're going to start with a short introductory paragraph. Here we just say that it's the methodology that was used to guide data collection and data analyses are described, and it briefly says how the chapter ends. Notice that for the discussion of the research site, it's a level 2 heading introducing the site, and what you have here is a 1-paragraph description of what that site looked like. The particular study that I am using as the example for the research methods, it's a mixed method study. Again, this is another level 2 heading. And it starts with an introductory paragraph where you explicitly tell the reader that the study incorporates both quantitative and qualitative research methods. Gives a little bit of a methodological justification for why that was chosen for this particular study. And we come down here and we have another level 2 heading right here where we begin talking about data collection. I give you provide the reader with a short introductory paragraph, and this should have a period at the end because it's level 3. This is your level 3 heading. Okay, so with the data collection, we have the introduction. We describe instrument development very briefly. And notice, because this is a mixed method study, we talk about both how I developed the survey and the semi-structured interview questions. I chose a mixed method design because some of you did quantitative, some of you did qualitative, while some of you actually did mixed method studies. So this will provide you all of you with samples of what your writing should look like. Now here we get to the survey. This is a level 3 heading. This tells you when they were distributed, how long it took for the teachers to complete it, what was the procedure that I used at the site to collect the surveys, okay? It also gives you the response rate across all schools, because there were more than one school that was part of the study. But the actual research site that I focused on, the response rate was 81%. And the N of 59 tells you how many participants were that actually answered the survey. Typically, when you do mixed method research, you present quantitative design first, and then you get into your qualitative. So next, we talk about the interviews. This is another level 3 heading. And what I did was explain how I brought people to the study. What did I do to invite them to participate? Who were the participants? So I had the teacher leaders. I also had vice principals and other school leadership. It tells you that they were conducted over a period of several months, how often they were interviewed, and where they were interviewed, and roughly how long each interview took, along with the total number of actual minutes or hours that I had. Notice here that your research protocols, your data collection tools, actually get attached in your appendices, which go at the very, very end. So after you discuss your data collection, you now discuss your data analysis. This is a level 2 heading here. Notice there's an introductory paragraph. Every subsection and every section of your TRP should start with an introductory paragraph, just letting the reader know what's coming. Notice again that we have a parallel structure where we're starting with how I analyzed the surveys. Down here with the interview analysis, it's another level 3 subheading. And it tells you how I analyzed the data. What were the actual steps I took to analyze the data? And the reason you have both the data collection section and your data analysis sections in these TRPs is so that if anybody wants to replicate your study, they can read through what you did, and they can actually replicate the study you did to see if they could come up with similar results at their site. So after you discuss how you've collected your, after you've discussed your site, how you developed your instrumentation, your sample, how you distributed your instrumentation, what you did to collect your data, and after you've described your analysis process, you come down and you have here a level 2 subheading, and you talk about the limitations of your study. And I actually took this directly from my dissertation. Down here under ethical considerations, this is another level 2 heading. And you guys should feel free to paraphrase and replicate from this. If you want the citation, I will be more than happy to give you the actual citation for the dissertation. But you want a discussion of the ethical considerations, that things you had to take into consideration when doing your data collection. And that's the end of it. That is what you do in presenting your Chapter 3. So To review very quickly, you first develop an introductory paragraph telling the reader the contents of your chapter. Second, you describe your research site. Third, you discuss your data collection and all the subcomponents of that. Fourth, you describe your data analysis and all the subcomponents of that. Fifth, you state that you have your IRB approval, and that's all you need to include right there, is that you did receive approval. Then you discuss your limitations and your ethical considerations. And that is the end of this particular video.